I think they're kind of like underdogs right now. Like they were losing way more than winning. But I don't think I think their team has like really high potential. Like their laners are really strong and their junglers are really strong too. So we should definitely like don't disrespect and then be overconfident. We should like really play controlled. And then like I think they make way more mistakes than us. So I think we should just secure the mistake.
Welcome back to the Battle Theater, everybody. No acting, just action. And a little respect there from Reignover over to Santorin. Obviously, knowing he's a very good jungler, but the other players as well, they've been there, done that, but there's a lot of mistakes in between that continue to follow them.
Exactly. And Immortals plays at such an accelerated pace. Even though it may look like they're making mistakes, they're forcing the opponent into so many more of them. And that's what he means by they just make more mistakes than we do, so we win.
And then they just come up clean. We were talking a little about Reignover. We saw him getting hit in the early part of the game, but he just seems to always know the way to come back.
Yeah, player of the game for that matchup. Good scoreline, and like you said, even though the early game didn't go his way, he consistently knew where to go for the dives, and in what was perhaps the most pivotal team fight of the match, he came away with a triple kill with spectacular Zhonya's usage and a really clutch flash. So really just another solid game from Reignover.
Coming out strong. NRG, as we look forward for them, have to come out a little bit stronger. We saw Santorin trying to utilize a bit of his early game power, but then the solo lanes couldn't follow up.
Yeah, the lanes in general, I feel like, for NRG need to improve. GBM was getting pushed in early. Quas was in a losing matchup, but they quite honestly picked him into it, so they kind of only had themselves to blame. And even OQ and Kiwi Kid, with First Blood, if you're going to get First Blood, you got to be able to punish that lane, guys. And just the laning patterns themselves didn't even leave them many options strategically to come back into the game. So it's an unfortunate thing when you're just like, you just have to lane better if you want to have a chance to win.
Right, because we see their initiations this close to being on point. Kiwi Kid flashing forward, getting a nice Glacial Fish so the team can follow up. We actually saw how much trouble Immortals had jockeying back and forth in that mid lane fight. If you remember, that really nobody died. One person died on each side. NRG needs to get to those fights where they're not 5,000 gold down in 20 minutes. They have to figure out a way to stop that gold deficit early.
That's been the struggle for NRG for even before 4/5 of this player was on the team, actually. They were a playoff team in the spring split with the second worst gold difference in the early game. This split hasn't been much different, except they're currently not lined up to be a playoff team unless they finish the season with a chain of wins. And for that to happen, they have to win the next 2 games against Immortals to move to 5-10.
It's got to be big. As we said, Immortals, Liquid, CLG, and TSM are what NRG face. They've got to buckle down now. You can see how everything was organized last game in the bottom middle of the screen as we have an Azir, Soraka. That Twitch still stays on the ban list, but a double AD carry focus because of that power of Sivir.
Absolutely. Immortals respects the Sivir, so they will first pick it, but they will also ban it if it is on the red side. That is a trend I don't think will change anytime soon for Immortals. Just based off these 2 games sample sizes, but that's a trend that won't change fast if they think it's the strongest.
Don't think so. Reignover taking off from Nidalee. Get something simple like an Elise in there. Continue to have power from the jungle and the Vladimir as we would expect. We'll see what NRG favors.
Yeah, this will be interesting. The Rek'Sai would make the most sense because it was the one jungler banned in the entire draft last game, and then when they go ahead and ban the Nidalee, it's just pretty straightforward what they would want as the first choice.
They figure don't have to show a jungler, but they could to keep the composition under wraps, but it's actually going to be mid and 80 carry, so it's an initiation count.
Yeah, it's playmakers right off the bat. Ashe isn't going to necessarily bully the lane that hard, although I think Ashe's 2v2 laning phase is greatly underrated. It's actually still quite very strong. And because Pobelter was able to push in GBM so much, that's a gank from the dual lane perspective that's super hard to avoid. An Ashe arrow coming in, a top laner teleporting, a Jaliyah coming down from the mid lane.
Might just spell another pentakill for Wild Turtle.
Yeah. Or a Talia, I should say.
Yeah. No, Talia.
Talia?
Talia.
Okay, I got a tweet. Someone was telling me it's Talia.
Talia.
All right, Talia.
At least that's what all of us say.
I'm blaming Riv at this point if it's wrong, so thank you for taking it for me.
Hashtag blame Riv. I'll take it. On the side of NRG, Santorin. Oh, great color coding. Lock it in. That would have been perfect.
It's like, we already have a jungler. What are we going to do with Evelynn? What is this? They're going to go with Karma. It's actually surprising that Karma's fallen so far in the draft since she has been a very high priority pick. But we also have to remember, I love this from Immortals. Sona is absolutely stupid strong right now.
A little
Right now.
bit,
Yeah, so
says the win rate.
there was substantial Sona changes that were in the 6.14 patch where at level 16 you can have up to 67% cooldown reduction. A lot of the other things were kind of changed. Like it was the idea of you make her spells slightly less impactful, but you allow her to use them more frequently. However, the power chord gained damage and also gained some effects, and the E got a little bit stronger. Like she was basically buffed across the board, so much so that she was hotfixed on the live servers.
Yeah.
That will not enter LCS play until next week. So this is a Sona that is so strong that you can't play it anymore on live.
She's a one-woman band right now.
Yeah, she does it all. She's incredibly hard, especially in the late game, to deal with when you get ahead. And against a poking champion like Karma, an incredibly strong laner, because the poke isn't going to stick unless you can successfully land an all-in. So I was actually expecting to see a lot more Sona play coming in. She's never been a great champion for competitive, but I think due to her level of power, she's almost a must-pick on this patch.
And we've actually been seeing people not like sway away from Nami, just not pick her as much. She's still up there to be chosen. But you're right, now with a little bit more sustain from a different champion, let's see what Sona provides here for Immortals. They said they like strong lanes. They're getting them.
Oh, yeah.
See, we've seen some GP pentas recently. Let's see what we get here. Will it be a gangplank for Huni in the top lane? It's a Gragas for Rainover. As you can already see that the team of NRG is ready to fight whatever composition they have.
Lucian top, here we go. Let's
do it!
The
Grimace?
the grimacing look from their coach as Adrian is hovering that pick is funny.
With a mic check, he was like, nobody even hover Teemo. You do not touch Teemo or you don't eat tonight.
Yeah, that was, I think, Parth for TSM.
Rumble. All right.
Anyway, there's a lot to catch up on this Champ Select because I tunnel a little bit on the Sona pick since we haven't seen it here in North America. Malzahar again for GBM, so they're picking into a matchup that did not go well for them last game. Maybe GBM thinks he can do better. I think he has to if they want a chance in this game, because the duo lane from Wild Turtle and Adrian should be heavily advantaged, something that wasn't even the case last split. And also, Huni got to last pick his top laner against Quas, so we're looking at a situation where Immortals could win every single lane as well as be playing the map better. So this is pretty daunting for NRG to walk into.
It's going to be difficult. We don't really see any kind of early game crutches they're putting themselves in. Teams have a bit of wave clear on each side, so nothing gets too strenuous if you do find yourself in a gold deficit. And we're going to have to see if NRG can start playing actively in this game. Cause Immortals to play reactive. Make them make the moves. That's where you make mistakes. That's what Immortal says they find in all of their opponents' mistakes.
Yeah, and I think for this game, Santorin's going to have to super hard carry. His lanes haven't consistently been able to win straight-up matchups. He controlled the first pick Rek'Sai. He's pushing Rainover away from Nidalee or Rek'Sai onto something like Gragas. And if he can give his lanes a big enough edge that they can then overcome the lanes they've been losing beforehand, I think that's the only way NRG wins.
It's going to be very difficult. NRG have a tough game now and a tough road ahead, but wins need to happen if they want that playoff spot. Head over to Twitter, hashtag NRG win, hashtag IMT win. We know the house here is filled with a lot of NRG butts in seats, so we're going to see if little home court advantage plays into their favor. As I'm going, it looks like we're in a pause, so I'm going to calm down now. Yeah. And we're going to wait for that.
We'll be in the game very shortly. Quas just has to reconnect very quickly to the game, and then we'll get started right away. I want to see the early game lane matchup once again, because that was something that NRG was actually able to do well in the last game. They were able to get a bit of an advantage from level 1. They were able to punish some of the greedier jungle paths from Immortals, and that was for power farming Nidalee versus what Rainover is going to be on now is a Gragas who can't power farm as quickly. So if they can shut him down again early on Gragas, they may be able to take him out of the game a little bit and force him to gank to get ahead instead of just farm to get ahead, which is a more difficult way back into the game. Right. So that's what, again, if we've identified the win condition for NRG, and that's Santorin to snowball a lot of the lanes and also take over from Rainover. He's gonna have to do a lot, but that's the way he has to do it, and the champion matchups are such that it's possible.
All right, we have speculated, articulated, and now we are ready to do some more of that. We're getting into game. It's number 2. Game point here for Immortals in the series. I'm going to see if NRG can grab this game and bring it to a number 3. Heading out on each side, line of scrimmage. Teams weren't too kind of worried about getting those deep wards in for the lane swap last time. And looks like that may be the same once again.
Yeah, Immortals took some pretty big risks to get them last game and then still lost the level 1. But here, we may just end up seeing standard lanes because While Sona can be incredible for sustain and pushing in, like I think Sona Ash is great, there is a chance that with some good early aggression, the Karma Jhin lane can win. They would need to get substantial poke out at level 1 from Karma, and when they hit level 2, OQ would need to be able to chain with his root, and they could probably get a kill on someone. But if they don't win the lane, and I'd say the first 3 or 4 levels, I think it becomes much more difficult. So that looks like the lanes we're going to be seeing here, and I'm excited.
Sona's still squishy. There's Ignite on Kiwi Kid. I'll have to maybe pop him down immediately. But Adrian knows squishy champions.
Oh my.
Just to play safe as well. This could actually be a pretty tough attack. So yeah, they're basically going to be forced to show themselves and farm before it happens. So this kind of fizzles out.
Yeah, but this actually just puts Immortals at a favorable position right off the bat. NRG wasn't able to work around the wards properly. Immortals snuck into the bottom lane, and this means that the race to level 2, where NRG was going to have a chance to win the game, is won by Immortals. Miscommunication, though. Burning the exhaust when Wild Turtle went to farm. Basically, I think while Adrian wanted to go all in, he was going to exhaust. He charged up his power cord for the Q to burst with a bunch of damage. He was hoping Turtle would volley and hit with him. But that's exhaust down now against an Ignite lane, and he's taken half his health in poke, so maybe a chance for NRG to come back. Adrian is undeterred even without exhaust.
Yeah, he's going to keep firing off. He gets gold, the damage, and the priority. That brush control is killing NRG right now as they just go back and forth. Like, I got a few more inches I can work with. Not so much. Now the wave already under the turret, and not usually a laning phase you see unless you're against the Sivir, really.
Yeah, I actually think that was Wild Turtle's bad. I think Adrian had the right idea,
right,
the ability to punish that.
Mm-hmm.
Santorin is down here really, though. He's done a very quick clear, and he would actually want to gank right away, but there's just not an opportunity right now because Adrian hasn't committed. Here we go.
Is it going to be there? The flash from Kiwi Kid came in.
That's it.
Santorin still has his knock up on the Turtle. A few more hits. The grenade pops, and the Ignite, along with an attack, is going to solidify the kill. Now they're trying to get and hightail it out of here. A pop-up. Santorin very nicely placed onto Huni, and there's the tether from Kiwi Kid. They're trying to stop everything from coming through. Kiwi Kid's going to fall eventually, but the whole roam here, if GBM stays mid, he can get more farm. This pulls everybody out of lane early.
Yeah, Quas canceled his teleport, and Huni completed his, so Quas needs to shove this one up. Adrian has burned through his entire mana bar to try and get this happening.
Light the fuse early. Absolutely crazy. 1-1 though. Gold is even, but Quas gets some alone time in the top here.
Yeah, so, I mean, the timing on Santorin's gank was smart.
Yeah.
He knew how heavy Immortals was pushing that lane. He knew they were down in exhaust, and the Karma gank support is tremendous. That's the best wall to tunnel over as the Rek'Sai. Kiwi Kid very quickly gets the stun. OQ is the root. OQ is able to chain it with the root. And then I think they actually could have gotten out of this if Quas had decided to match this teleport. I think he could have stunned Huni far enough to zone him away, but they cancel the teleport. Rainover comes in. He doesn't get the body. He makes Santorin eat the body slam, and then Huni's able to finish off Kiwi Kid. Because GBM was behind on the roam, maybe it was okay for Quas to cancel his teleport, but I think that actually could have been a 1 for 0. Slightly different play. And Huni stuck around. They've actually swapped out.
Kiwi Kid not expecting that. Obviously the comms now quite chattery of NRG saying Huni's bot. They're swapping things. I guess Turtle was already on the top side, so they expected to see Huni in the bot at some point. 5 minutes in here, Immortal says, all right, we're going to make the first move. Let's try and change things up. Top side's going to get some love from Santorin as Quas has stayed there. Well, really, it's the tell of where OQ and Kiwi could go here. It looks like even they're splitting.
Ooh. And a pretty clutch smite there by Rainover to secure the blue buff and make him a level above Santorin. But yeah, the 5-minute lane swap, and now maybe even a swap back. Immortals did have the tempo advantage from shoving the lane in, so they're kind of trying to abuse that and make NRG react to them. Looks like they're just going to... It was a one-time trip up to the top lane for Immortals. Yep. That's going to give OQ and Kiwi Kid an experience advantage in the bottom lane. Or... Immortals got to make up their mind. They started their run out the bottom lane, now they're going back top again. So they're losing a lot of time with this.
I was going to say maybe for Rainover, but now he starts to back, so it's not even a potential push here from Quas to get the kill. Really, it looks like they're just trying to shuffle the board, say, hey, NRG, can you follow this? What are you going to do?
Yeah, maybe just try and confuse them a little bit. One thing that's happening again, though, for Immortals is Pobelter's crushing that mid lane. There's been so much action in the side lanes, we haven't really been able to track this, but look at his pattern. He's able to get enough worked grounds down. He's very quickly clearing the wave, and it's not hurting his mana pool. This time he's gone for double Thorns Ring as well. GBM's been denied blue buff by the invades by Rainover, so he's just not able to spam out the wave quickly enough to get any type of lane priority. When GBM hits level 6, Santorin would want a gank, but it's going to be very tight timing.
They're both about 70% the way there. Actually, Pobelter on 6 now, so be very careful of his initiation or cutting somebody off. Both mid laners rotating down slowly.
They might want to go for this. That's the other thing. If GBM doesn't consistently push in the wave mid, it makes all of the other energy waves have to play so passively because the roaming threat of Talia is so great. And he's also free to go and clear these pink wards. Like, the pink wards are the only line of defense they really have against this if they're not shoving the waves. So things are getting pretty rough for energy in this lane, of course.
It's really giving Pobelter a lot of easy time to walk around. Free time with just volleying waves out. GBM's forced to sit there and say, well, I'm under my turret, guys. Pobelter might be somewhere. And then he shows up with a Weaver's wall in your lane. Really utilizing the just push it, roam, push it, and roam. Trying to get himself active in these fights with the team. GBM saying, I'm going to get this wave to your turret at least once. I swear. It's like Pobelter let that happen. GBM sitting at right now. Only 800 gold to Pobelter's 1,200. So like we said, Pobelter's more than happy to just sit here, farm up if nothing is going awry for the team. 39 to 49 for the top laners. Definitely a smaller lead than we were talking about before. Immortals just a slight bit ahead of them here now.
I think so, and I'm still a little curious why Immortals decided to do this lane swap. It seemed like the lanes were going all right, but maybe because they burned both summoners, they were worried about the dives, but Santorin sees Rainover, goes for the gank. Now, they might try and turn this around. How low can they get them, and do they want to pull the trigger on the dive?
Flash came in from Adrian. Look back, he's not 6, so it will not be the crescendo ready for him as we get a pause here just under the turret back and forth. And we'll see who that is for. Much better game for energy to start, but that doesn't mean Immortals doesn't have the edge already that they can turn into a 2,000, 3,000 gold lead with one fight.
Yeah, some of the same trends from game 1, actually. They pull off a good early game jungle path. Santorin did it with a blue buff steal on Rainover in game 1. And in this game, Santorin gets the first good gank. The teleport wasn't matched at the very start of the game by Quas against Huni.
Right.
So Quas didn't actually fall behind in lane this time. So not only did they get the first kill into the bottom lane, but they also didn't have their top laner fall behind. So the consistent thing here is that GBM is losing the mid lane to Pobelter, which really, if that wasn't happening, Energy would have full control of this game. So I do have to kind of credit Pobelter, who's really stepped up this year for consistently beating GBM in the series, and is the main thing going right for Immortals actually this game.
We'll have to see. We talked a little bit about GBM, even OQ, but mainly GBM in this conversation, that where is, kind of the highlights they used to be able to bring out, those high highs, where were the Orianas he used to play in those situations, control mages in the mid lane. It just seems like maybe it's not his meta. Maybe the meta shift is such with CLG, it takes him a long time to figure out what's right for them. But there's kind of a glaring weakness there, saying this is the guy in the bow tie last year that was crushing lane for us, doing a lot, controlling games when the team needed him to, 5-0-7. But you haven't seen that much lately.
And what's funny is when GBM does perform, the team does quite well. We saw Mark Z talking on the analyst desk at the very start of the day, how GBM had some pretty good performances last week, and that's when they're actually able to win.
Yeah.
By the way, Kiwi Kid's keyboard is just being swapped out, so we'll be back in game as soon as that is fixed up. But I was doing some digging in the stats today, and GBM has the most deaths for NA mid laners, and also the worst CS differential at 10 minutes on average, at -6.8. And for a guy that was widely considered top 3 mids in Korea, in the LCK, the most prestigious league in the world, and he comes to North America and is the worst performing mid laner. Like, that is a fall from grace if I've ever seen one.
It becomes super difficult because then you try to kind of look for outlets there. Is it because this team requires a lot of assistance to the jungler as well? Does he require mid lane roam to do more and then lose his lane? And you actually can't. They're kind of non-existent.
And I agree that there are so much interconnectivity with your League of Legends performance.
Yeah.
If your team isn't doing well, it's very hard to succeed. But when we look at this team, like, Quas has kind of been stepping up. Santorin, I think, has looked better than he ever has before. And Bjergsen was able to be the most dominant mid laner in North America with Santorin as his jungler. And I look at GBM, and I'm not necessarily seeing that. And to kind of answer your question, we don't necessarily know what's happening with GBM. But we know he's been great in the past. And even in this split, he has had glimpses of great performances. But in this series, and mostly for this year, he has just not lived up to his name.
And you look around for the veterans as well. As Quas going to be able to pick this up as he re-enters? This Kiwi kid have that, you know, even if we get to the most strenuous point of being relegated, I'll be there to carry it in. It's kind of these sparks come at the last moment when the team needs to be able to find it during the season. They need to be able to right the wrongs as they go along. And it's not really a team that's faced the communication issues as much, right? They can all pretty much talk to each other. Kiwi kid getting continuously set up. He was on the bottom of the map here, so it didn't really affect the dive. But seeing all the knowledge they have on this team, there does seem to be a disconnect. That knowledge actually working together as opposed to somebody thinks something's right, we'll do it this way.
Yeah, it's been a big synergy issue for NRG pretty much this entire split. The OQ Kiwi kid, I wanted to call him like the odd couple in the bottom lane. It's just like OQ was this super hyped Korean 80 carry from Najin. And then Kiwi Kid has been, at least lately, kind of a mid to low tier support in the LCS, but clearly deserving of being on an LCS team. We're like, man, how are these guys going to work together? I'm really excited. Kiwi Kid's amazing aggression. OQ being super solid, but it hasn't jived. And as soon as we get into the game, we're going to have to be ready because there are some people in a contentious position up in this top lane.
Still going back and forth. You can't just walk out of the ring right away. Got to get your last few hits in, and that's what we were seeing. Back on in, Kiwi's keyboard is all fixed up and seems to be right as rain down in the bot lane. 8.5 minutes in, we're still very close as Rainover is on a one-man mission, giving Turtle and Adrian some breathing room here with this top turret. And it may be the first one we see fall this game. Uni doing a nice job at clearing out the bottom way, so Immortals will have a turret lead after this.
Yeah, so that's actually pretty successful right there, since the other side of the map is not able to shove in the same fashion. Maybe they go for it now, because Kiwi Kid's roaming to get wards. Midwave has actually been pushed in by GBM, which gives them the time to roam down. And Santorin has ulted back to be in position, so at the very least they get control of this jungle. Huni's playing smart, he needs to go back to base immediately, and he does.
Small ends. What can they do next? They leave wards. Looks like NRG is going to at least take as much as they can here and try to get pressure on this bottom turret. But again, is it a few seconds too late? It could be easily cleared by Turtle and Adrian here, and the efforts then go to the wayside. They choose to back off, and NRG, you almost put yourself behind more time. It's dangerous to take it. Is it too dangerous? Yes, it is. We're going to back off. But then that's the lead now Immortals gets.
Yeah, if anything, though, they have set up some decent vision in the jungle of Immortals.
That's true.
So they might be able to execute a 4- or 5-man dive on Immortals duo lane if they can get the waves pushed out. But that's something that Immortals is so good at doing, is taking the playmaking opportunities away from their opponents by always applying pressure. Yes, there's wards in Immortals jungle in the bottom lane, but look where everyone else is on Immortals. They're forcing NRG to respawn. They're going and getting their own deep vision, and NRG is now sucked towards that side of the map, and their bottom lane pressure has evaporated.
It's almost your choice to put resources towards it. You know, this is deja vu, like you just said. We saw NRG place the wards on the bottom side. Immortals said, take the blue, that's fine. And we actually saw a lot of representatives from NRG say, no, 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 don't take the blue. So you can see where their time is kind of being allotted here. Immortals says, that's fine. We'll just take yours, and we know you're actually going to put pressure on it. And now we're going to put pressure on the bottom lane, one after the other. They make OQ dance, and he'll jump out of the fight. Looks like they are just backed off on this one. Is there a return? Cole-Belter starts to come down. He weaves the wall that could be the death of Kiwi Kid, but it is not an entry. He jumps off at Tri-Brush with GBM coming down just behind him. Ghost activated.
Yeah, some really spectacular restraint from Immortals right there, forcing the teleport cancel out of Quas. Now,
oh dear,
has teleport, and they could go in.
Restraint out the window!
Oh no!
They try to go back in on this one. Santorin waits just to the end of the ultimate from GBM to keep that crowd control on. We're 1 for 1 now, but it's a support for the mid laner, which means NRG can still offer up a bit of DPS. They choose to back out. The top laners did not choose to engage.
Oh man, Caster Curse. I say Pobelter's holding restraint, then he goes kind of walks into the turret. GBM catches him with the flash ultimate. Great play by GBM right there to capitalize on Pobelter's misplay in position. And that was a team-wide communication as well, because we had mentioned that Immortals was playing aggressive because they now had the teleport advantage over Quas. Quas was Meganar, and he was staying right next to Huni that whole time to prevent the teleport. Watching this play though, you can see Pobelter cancels his jump at the very end, as Quas had to cancel his teleport.
And that's why.
And then they're kind of dancing back and forth, thinking, can we do this dive? Should we hold off? Malzahar is missing, Rek'Sai is missing, but they get some pretty good priority on the bottom lane, so they think they can go for it. But here, GBM sees where Pobelter is, flash ult. That's all they need. Santorin's able to chain it with a knockup, and somehow gets that last hit on Pobelter as he's getting blasted away. That's all they needed.
As soon as the fight happened, Quas gnarred out. With the knowledge of Quas's teleport being down, Huni thought he could teleport in, said, yeah, mine's ready, and everything happened at the same time, so Huni would have got stopped. I think that might have been the false initiation from Immortals there, thinking
so.
Huni could participate. Hex Tech belt for him, though. He's looking good, getting some new threads there. It looks like he'll be trying to do more damage as he goes up against Quas in the top lane, as well as utilize that for a bit of movement. Boots for Talia in mid lane. Just everybody trying to get to the core item. Actually, GBM with that assist has got himself already built up to the Morello.
Yeah, so he beats Pobelter to the Morellonomicon this time. Of course, he doesn't have any boots, so he's pretty much just a wave clear bot, but he does need to be stronger in some aspect if he wants to prevent Pobelter from roaming. And now, if he's at least able to win the duels, he can stop that a little bit. Can get a few shots off. One more.
One more. Oh. Almost.
Anticlimactic.
And no good.
Surprised he didn't just continue to try and chain after his first shot. A lot of Jins you can see land all of them if they land the first one, but see the constant pressure they have. Wow.
Minions are going to come over it as well, so he just crushes them down.
A little premature on the ultimate, I would say, from Huni right there, but they push the wave, I suppose?
I think they're just looking to keep energy scattered. Be like, yo, Quas is going to have to stay up here. I keep it against the turret. We get the roam down from GBM. They're thinking about it.
Yeah, and Immortals has a lot of initiation in this game as well, so I think if they consistently just push the waves to keep a gold advantage, they're okay strategically in this game. They don't need to be really careful with their cooldown discipline as long as they're keeping pressure.
Exactly. Still have an arrow to get in or out of a sticky situation if you want to. 111 to 134 here. Pobelter still volleying away in the mid lane and working all that earth to keep himself in a CS lead. Again, Jat, you kind of said at the beginning, Santorin needs to go off here. He's got 2 kills for himself. Can he start distributing that power through the lanes, which unfortunately have broken open for them, and they haven't been able to get any turrets back in return.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they can get the Mountain Drake, which is going to make it really difficult for NRG to respond to these things. Getting that increased objective power. Pretty important considering Immortal has so much map pressure right now, but Santorin going to try and counter with the game.
Got the rolling in of Quas here. Flashes the boomerang. Very smart by Huni. He'll have the scrap shield up to keep his distance. And Santorin has just a bit before he can get back under. It's going to be under the turret, though. Huni can get some harpoons into slow and keep them in range. One last shot connects with the hyper, and Quas gets the speed to get out.
Loved the persistent aggression right there from NRG, understanding that they'd be able to chase for that kill. And the frozen mallet completed on a Quas means he just needs to flash and get that auto attack to secure it. But look for the counterplay. They know the Santorin has been top lane and Quas have burned his flash, so Immortals might throw an Ash Arrow out. Here we go.
Whoa. OQ getting walled in here. Pobelter may have him in a bad spot, though. Almost makes himself the prisoner. Everything missing. Turtle loses out on his shot. They're hitting Pobelter. He gets the heal coming in, and it's going to be now into OQ. He actually has to stop short. Turtle just walks up into his face. 2 members of NRG down now. The equalizer goes over Tribrush, and NRG cannot continue to enter. That saves Adrian, and they finally take down Turtle at the bottom side. They are spreading left and right of this fight. And it looks like they'll finally try to get the last straggling members of NRG here. Quas and GBM with maybe 800 health together.
Yeah, but Rainover and Huni are full health, so it's just a matter of cornering them to pick up all the kills.
A little charred Gnar for dinner there from Huni, and they are going to be able to drop GBM as he looks to hide under their turret.
What a
One way or
wacky
the other.
fight that was. That was just an example of Immortals putting themselves in a very favorable position, so even if they don't execute perfectly, the play can still succeed. There's no turret behind the Jhin and the Karma here, so Pobelter ults in to cut them completely off, but he ends up taking a lot of damage, and he missed a few of his skill shots. Wild Turtle also misses his ultimate, and then Pobelter gets rooted, but Wild Turtle is able to flash, finish the kill on a Kiwi Kid, then he's like, hey, there's another person here I should be killing. Meanwhile, the rest of Immortals is trying to come up to assist. So many minions kill Wild Turtle here. He gets hit by a Prey Seeker, and then the minions actually kill him on that side. But you look at the rest of the fight, and Huni's Equalizer chunks out Quas and GBM, so a really high-value Equalizer there. And then as we saw at the end, the chase down kills does not require replay, so a big win for Immortals right there, increasing that lead to 5,000 gold.
I was just going to say that. They were so close to not being down 6,000 gold before 20. And then it seems to be that one fight. We saw what happened in the bot lane when they matched up again, and it seemed like there was a lot of time for NRG to maybe clear a wave. Immortals met NRG again at the bottom tier turret, exactly where they left them. Rinse and repeat. And now to the top side of the map after they have all that control.
Yeah, and they took Rift Herald in game 1 around 17 minutes and 15 seconds, so almost an exact timing for Rift Herald in this second game. That's going to make it so even though Quas has the Frozen Mallet, it's not going to be easy for him to beat Huni in the extended 1v1s. And, you know, I really do have to hand it to Immortals this week. We'll see how they end up progressing throughout the rest of it. And I'm really excited for their TSM matchup that they have next week in the final week to maybe decide that #1 seed, because Immortals and TSM are far and away ahead of the other teams. Crazy, with 2 weeks left in the season, they've both already secured buys into the playoffs. But it's matches like these that just reinforce those ideals. And at least for Immortals, like, they look cleaner and more aligned than they did in previous weeks, which is trending in the right direction, even though they're already really good.
It's scary when you think of that as well, when the teams that scored the best last season statistically in records across the board and the way they played can do that again and then better. You expect them to return with slight increases, but here they're actually able to do what they're saying. They don't say, you know, maybe we'll be at that spot in a few weeks. They can present the results almost immediately, and that's what makes them such a terrifying team, along with TSM, who's just presented the results overall.
Exactly, and it's definitely been a different journey for Immortals this split. We've obviously switched formats from best of 1 to best of 3s. So if you're one of those sticklers that you're like, they've lost 7 games, it's not nearly the same. It's like best of 3 is much different, and Immortals' approach to this format is also much different. They are intentionally trying to diversify and take more risks. And as we mentioned in the pregame, that has led to some misalignment. Pobelter not necessarily agreeing with some of the team's draft, trying to really hammer home, like, widening the champion pool. Pobelter's getting ganked, though.
Woo!
He's dead. Super dead.
Not much you can say about that. Not mad at anybody else but yourself.
I think he got a little too close to GBM. GBM got his ultimate off without even needing to flash, so I think that one's definitely on Pobelter.
You gotta feel careful. There are still points we see when Immortal feels a bit too strong in games. They'll leave themselves out in the open, whether they're with the team or not. Things can still go wrong for these guys.
Yeah, but to get back to that, like, Adrian was super criticized for his small champion pool. He's pulled out 2 new supports for the split in this series alone. So I like that growth for Immortals. I like the fact that they're still keeping their high pressure up while both games having ways of initiating team fights. So they're progressing, which I think is the most important thing, and they're already really good.
Also seems like Huni has kind of measured himself a bit to knowing that the team play and things for the team actually get you a better result. Really come out on top. It's always easy to say, no, I can do this. It feels good. Be like, all right, you're Huni. And when everybody comes together, everything comes together.
And Huni's style has had to change a little bit between splits. If you look at the damage percentage numbers for Immortals, in the spring, Huni was far and away the highest damaging top laner. And he's dropped off a little bit this split in percentage of team's damage, but that is all that slack has been picked up by Pobelter. Pobelter's been doing more damage than ever this split, and it's made Huni have to play a little bit more conservatively and try and keep his deaths down. And even in this game where he would have had an opportunity to try and be greedy and get farm in the lane and CS, he actually backed early, and he kept the game in a more controlled state for Immortals.
See how they continue to control it. 21 minutes in. They were just a few minutes from now. Last game inside the base of NRG, putting the finishing touches on.
Yeah, and to refocus on this game a little bit, there's a Drake up right now. They have the 2 levels in the Rumble Ultimate, so that's a big play. But the Gnar is teleporting in. Here comes NRG.
Vroom, vroom, 3-man pop-up coming from Santorin, but is the follow-up there? Quas is able to get the jump and close the gap. He just misses. The Townhouse throws it left of Adrian. The Rumble Ultimate equalizes the fight for Immortals, and it may be the HP drop they need. That's actually Adrian going down first. Both summoners are gone from him. Santorin getting to the back line. Can he drop them? It's 2 for 2 for us so far. DPS and Wild Turtles now out of the fight. They're looking to get onto Cooney as they turn around, and he flashes forward to connect a kill into GBM, also avoid a bit of damage. And now it's Rainover and Hooney, definitely putting out more DPS than OQ and Kiwi Kid. But if Kiwi Kid and OQ can kite this fight, they may be able to deliver back. The bad thing is, though, the straight line that Immortals can take will cut off energy here, and it looks like they're forced to fight. The Mantra Shield goes out, but Kiwi Kid can only do so much. The Retribution kill for himself as they take each other out, and it looks like Rainover's going to give up.
Wow, awesome fight from NRG when you consider that they were down 5,000.
I like the fact that they actually went in for that.
Yeah, because Immortals was just kind of moving towards a very standard Dragon setup to go and get the Drake, and Hooney was in between lanes, so the teleport comes in and actually catches them, and Quas is in a great spot, so he's going to Mega Gnar when the fight happens. Adrian has maxed his W first on Sona, so you can see the power of that healing shield making him very difficult to take down, and that extends things. Hooney gets a pretty good ultimate in that corridor. It takes Quas and Santorin very low, but then Quas gets a 3-man Gnar ult into a 2-man wallop, and they can nearly kill Turtle. Plus they get the Drake. As Immortals comes back out, the fight will continue.
They're hoping it doesn't. Adrian trying to get himself to safety, gets Hooney's help there as he teleports into that fight, actually. We now have Pobelter on the top side of the map, so Immortals is actually being able to control these situations with less numbers.
Yeah, and that was a somewhat Immortals-esque play that NRG just made there, because prior to the previous fight, they had gotten a wave advantage in the top side, which is what Pobelter was going to clear out, which then allowed NRG to take the Drake. So they were actually ahead in tempo because of the team fight they were able to force in the manner that they forced it, and it leads to the rewards.
Void Rush scares off Wild Turtle. Santorin making sure he still has a red buff to take. So NRG not afraid to get the initiations in, need to find a few more of those. It still seemed that it was a bit kind of scattered. OQ started to ult Pobelter when he had a squad of members just sitting in that choke point. Kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. Immortals, however, credits them as well, knowing how to reposition for fights incredibly in the split decision moments. Close game in kills, but again, Immortals doesn't really beat you in kills, they beat you in map pressure, and they still continue to do that. 0 turrets for NRG, which again means they have gold to pick up if they can ever drop this outlying turrets.
Yeah, it's still going to be very difficult for them because that last initiation was super forced, and they also caught Immortals while they were split up and then still barely won the fight. But it shows they're willing to do so. GBM has found a few opportunistic initiations, so they need to continue to rely on those. There's only one QSS on Immortals currently, and that's on Wild Turtle. So GBM has the opportunity to catch anyone but Wild Turtle.
That mid lane matchup once again in favor of Pobelter. We've seen, I believe, the top 3 now. Jensen, Pobelter, and Bjergsen have all actually played Talia. Not really seeing that in GBM's champion pool yet. I've seen Ari's, things like that as well. Almost seems like a stubbornness maybe in that sense, or maybe even a team fit.
I think some of it is team fit. Talia plays the map so well and is able to assist the other lanes. So if your mindset is to solo carry the game, it may not be the best choice.
Right.
Here he comes
Surfing in. Gonna get a wipeout on Quas before he can even gnar out. And Pobelter slides his way down for a kill.
Whew, that global pressure, it's very similar to Twisted Fate, but it seems like Talia has a little bit stronger of a laning phase currently, so you might be seeing more and more of that pick in North America.
Ooh! Rainover just tucked the barrel right under his arm there.
Just take the barrel. Let's run a little bit faster, get away from these curtain calls. Whoa!
Hello!
You need help.
Oh, yeah, now he needs help. Turtle. He actually is holding off 4 members right now. He's holding off 4 members! That's like one of those ninja movies where you're like, why aren't all the ninjas fighting the bad guy? Everybody hit him at once! It's because they couldn't. And it's too strong!
Yeah, if only in those ninja movies they're like, no, we want to give the last hit to this guy, That's why we'll go in one at a time, because I think that's what happened to NRG right there. They're just like, okay, this kill is super free. Let's make sure we get it on someone who can use the gold. And then they just give a bunch of gold over the Wild Turtle. Ooh,
Like,
big
you're not
misplay
supposed
by
to watch
NRG.
him beat up the group. That's just standing around it.
Yeah, this is the movie where they actually all do go in at the same time, but they surround him and just like let him punch a few people first. Big mistake.
We'll see if he can get back into some more fights. Bringing himself out. Looks like he'll go to the top lane, back to pushing for Turtle. He won't do anything different. And Adrian will give him the words to do so, it seems, as he hovers the top side as well. Pings from NRG in the mid lane. They're saying, let's go. This is a turret we can grab. We can either bait them up towards this Baron side, or we can crush them down in the mid lane. Let's see if either of those things happen. They're warding up pretty heavily here.
Yeah, and still look for that Ash Arrow or that Sona ult to come and make an initiation.
There you go.
Energy is going to want to be able to preempt that, so look for either a Curtain Call, a Quas Teleport, or GBM flash ulting.
Uh-oh.
There's the Curtain Call.
Oh, they see the edge
But
too.
it has to land if you're going to do an initiation.
It's just like, quick, get over that line. We'll
Yeah.
be all right.
Well, it's actually really hard because Sona now gives a good amount of non-decaying movement speed, even at rank 1.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to Curtain Call that, the juking potential is much higher for Immortals.
Oh, and kind of heavy resources here by NRG. Doesn't really come with anything. They've been holding this area for the last minute, trying to get a kill. Immortals knows now, and it's almost Immortals engage they could make. Pole Belter doesn't want history to repeat itself here. He instantly exits down towards the safety of Huni.
And it keeps his distance very well with the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Now it's just a matter of not being cut off towards that mid lane turret. Immortals is trying to cross map this one. They have 3 people to push the bottom wave, and it'll be questionable whether it'll be worth trading an inner mid lane turret or an inner. Yeah, turret for turret. One's an inner, one's an outer. Here we go. Energy's teleporting way behind. This will be a messy fight.
It's all right, chat. Some have innies, some have outies. We'll see what happens as they start to pull off. They find Kiwi Kid here. Quas may be able to take down Adrian. He keeps living with near 0 HP and then baits the rest of the teams in. Throws down the crescendo. Still alive. That's going to be a big ult. Quas can't gnaw out just yet. Adrian lives as he continues to sustain the team, and they continue to draw pain of energy here. That's going to be OQ left. They're going to be able to grab him down. I believe he will flash over the wall and get himself to safety, rather. But
Yep.
Immortals are making these fights look so clean in and out.
Yeah, I think Adrian may have found his temporarily new favorite champion, the pre-hotfix Sona. Full health once again. Soraka can't do that. She only gets full health to other people, whereas Adrian's keeping the whole team up right there. Yeah, basically NRG thought they were going to be able to cut off the 3 people on Immortals, but they don't get the kill instantly, and that allows the collapse for the rest of Immortals to come in. I love the fact that they jump on a Kiwi Kid right away. It kind of distracts, and look, watch Adrian here. He gets so low, and he's technically silenced right now, but then he gets his W up, and his cooldowns actually aren't even that supercharged right now, but he gets such a big shield since he's max W. When they try and burst him down, it just doesn't work, and then he's able to cycle back to it once more. Meanwhile, the rest of Immortals actually do a bunch of damage. So they're trying to kill Sona, but they're not trying to kill any of the damage dealers. OQ opens up, misses all the bullets, flashes away, and eventually dies.
It's all right. That's what also happens in the movies. When you're frantically trying to shoot,
Yeah,
You
there's
never
no
get it.
accuracy.
no accuracy.
Very end.
It's all right. Sun was in his eyes. 30 minutes on the clock now, and we're seeing quite a lead here. 13,000 gold for Immortals, and that means these fights may go quite fast. Energy's going to have to play very reactive. Hextech belt to get himself a little more range. One ult after the other. Santorin takes the full turret heat up that he can take. Now that's on to Quas. He gnars out at the perfect time. And they do some nice back and forth to get that turret. But Immortal's always doing something else on the other side of the map.
Yeah, that was a 3-man dive to try and kill Huni. It was going to be successful, but they didn't have the wave pressure
Yeah.
provided to make that play with low risk. And at this point, they're already 12,000 gold down. They wanted to try and pick up a kill, but Immortals always that one step ahead. With the Baron buff, they may be even going for more.
Not too many minions. Bane of Baron buff is the siege. Can't get close enough.
Big
Does look
super
great
hit
though
in.
for tickling the turret. Like bloop.
10 more of those shots, and that turret's going down.
Maybe like 1000.
Yeah. He smites it. Get it! Come on, turret.
That's why Thresh is great for those, because you can just pull it in, and then it gets shot by the turret. Immortals are really giving this turret a lot of treatment here, but NRG is saying not just yet. It will stand. This should be the final wave, and they might have to fight for their inhibitor here. This could get scary.
They might initiate on this one.
Yes.
They have all of their relevant ultimates up to make the initiation, plus just one hit on the turret.
Oh, the Narbar. Use it.
From a 15,000 gold deficit, if you're NRG, you do not want to fight in neutral territory. You almost only want to fight in advantage territory, but that's why Immortals is playing so safe. They have the Sona, they have the sustain. They're making it really hard on NRG.
Got a good wave to push on the top side. Bottom is slowly creeping in. They probably use that one to get this inhibitor here as the super minions draw energy off of the battle. And they may not even have to wait for that. It'll just be some love taps.
Absolutely, that's 2 inhibitors down, and this one is looking more and more like we expected it to be.
Immortals-y.
Comes in 13-1, a very Immortals-y game. Like, well, they've died 11 times, but does that really matter?
No.
Usually not.
No, because that last death they just had, they got 2 inhibitors and 2 turrets. So no, it doesn't.
Yep.
That's just the way it seems. It's like, we'll give you $1, but we get 500 out of it. Oh, they take down the last outer turret. Now only have to work within the walls of NRG's base to get this 1-1, or get this game won. 1-1 would have worked. This doesn't sound as good. 17-11 here. And Immortals really keeping it up this season towards the end of the split. None of the lackadaisical play that we saw coming out last time. Disregard for a type of meta that they may be approaching. They're actually coming in pretty strong with a good head on.
Yeah, Immortals will be playing Apex later this week. Looking forward to that matchup as well to see if they can keep threatening for that #1 seed in the LCS. They're definitely gunning for it. And they're looking quite strong here. I love the champion diversity that they pulled together. Here we go. 3rd inhibitor, 2 inhibitors already down. That cuts him off from the defense. That's cheeky. The teleport comes in from NRG. This will be the final fight.
One of my favorite ways of using the Weaver's wall. Pobelter just instantly cuts off NRG. They see the opening, though, as enter stage right. Quas very low on the Narbar, but he is getting himself built up. As the rest... Oh, GBM actually seismic shoved in. Pobelter starts off the fight on Talia, and they're going to be going in hard on this one. Adrian and Hooney in the front. He can sustain Hooney. He keeps Adrian protected. What a combination they got going on in just groups of 2 right now. They're going to group together on the Nexus turrets, though, as it's a team effort to take the win. Immortals looking to solidify this one just at 34 minutes in the game, and they are going to keep this very nice record alive. They're going to keep shooting for first place. Immortals take down NRG.
Yeah, and you could see by the end of that game, after Adrian picked up the Ardent Sensor, like, they weren't taking any damage from NRG's team, and a lot of that had to do with the near 20,000 gold advantage. But, I mean, I think Immortals should be pretty satisfied after that win, because they had a fairly decisive 2-0 here against NRG, and only looking better and better as they move to 14-1. And you look at NRG, and that one, it kind of hurts. Even though you can't really expect them to beat Immortals, who's only lost once all season, it does lower their chances even more, and they're very close to being mathematically eliminated from the playoffs now.
Playing against a team like Immortals, it's just that everything comes together. From having priority picks to in-game strategies to team communication to reliance on each other and feeling sure about that. I mean, you take away their Sivir, they take Ashe, another of the top tiers. You take away a Soraka, they have Sona, maybe for a little bit. But they have those picks they can always fall back on that just seems like, oh, you banned one S, we'll take another S.
Yeah, and Immortals makes you play an incredibly complete game if you want to win.
Yeah.
So you can excel in one area, and by no means will it be enough, because Immortals always has pressure in so many different areas. Like, they're not a team that is just like, well, if they can get to team fighting, they're going to be great. Oh, if they do lane swaps, they're going to be great. Immortals is kind of quite good at everything, even though they make a bit of mistakes. Because almost every game, you'll see something that Immortals does, and you'll say, the other team, they had that advantage there.
Exactly.
But everything else in the game has gone against them.
They just used their breathing room a little bit better. And we're actually going to take a look at that last fight that Immortals was able to get in on, because I actually wasn't expecting it was Pobelter to shove in GBM here.
Yeah,
so
he
quick.
Got the skill shot perfectly, and there's a lower delay between that skill combo on this patch, which is what Pobelter was able to take advantage of right there to get the very quick burst. And then you can see Adrian almost just frontlining with the Ardent Sensor since they pushed Malzahar away. No chance for NRG after they get that combo early on from Pobelter.
So now can anybody really push Adrian for not having champions? Yes, you can.
You can.
Absolutely.
He's still playing supports that exclusively keep people alive.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's his crutch. He's not like on a Alistair or Braum, who's like these huge initiators, or Leona, which is really funny for Adrian, because when he was on Team Impulse, everyone was like, this dude only plays Alistair and Leona. And he's like completely changed to be, no, he only plays the champion.
Anything else he wants to throw
alive.
in. Well, he does, and the rest of Immortals make this a lot harder for NRG here. Liquid, CLG, and TSM are what follows for NRG, and it's going to be very difficult for them to try and pick something up here, especially with Immortals taking them down like that. They had a bit of a lead, but they have to figure out where they're losing it. Because once they're close to 10 minutes, by 15, they're jumping that 5K gold deficit, and that can't happen.
And I agree, and I think it's a mix between NRG not having the early game, but also Immortals just playing so well. So it's a tough one to take, but they're going to have to move on.
They will. Now for a stage side chat with Immortals support, here's Dom Romer.
Thanks, guys. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Adrian. Congratulations on that convincing 2-0. It was pretty commanding. How's that feel?
Feels really good to decisively beat them.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your support pool. I mean, last split, you were saying you had one of the deepest support pools, but you still kind of played those range supports. Now we're finally starting to see something new with that Taric and that Sona. What are your thoughts on that?
Taric and Sona are really strong right now. Like, I feel like the support meta, you can play any champion right now. It's whatever you need for your team. So, like, it's so diverse right now. Like, it's not only range, only melee. So, like, you can play everything.
Oh, very cool. Well, supports, take that home and start practicing some new champs. And what are your thoughts on the status of supports in the league as a whole?
Like, just, what do you mean?
Like all of the other supports in the league. Do you think they're up to your level? Are you the best support? Or what do you think?
I definitely think I'm the best supporter in North America.
Of course. What makes you think that?
Everything. I'm just better at everything.
Of course it is, and he's already got the best trash talk to boot. So next week, you're going to be playing against TSM, the only team to hand Immortals a loss so far this split. We heard from Rainover last week that you started preparing weeks ago. What do you think about it?
I think it's going to be a really close series, and, like, whoever wins that probably is going to win the finals.
Oh, already calling out the whole playoff. So will it be Immortals in the finals?
Hopefully.
All right. Well, Adrian, thank you so much. Congratulations on the 2-0. We're going to send it over to the analyst to break that down.
Thank you very much, Dom. Immortals, another very strong game out of them, pulling out the victory. Of course, as we've mentioned, this split, they seem to be showing a little bit more, trying out a few more picks, moving into the later half of the split, which compared to last time, but where they whip out the Lucian in the semifinals for the first time.
Little awkward.
A lot of that, though, comes with occasional blunders within the games. But specifically do want to talk about that Sona popping up this time around because she was on our patch chart, as well as Talia. She's been played now twice by Pobelter. We had that question mark next to her. I think it's very clear that she is still a strong pick in this meta.
Right. I think this is the kind of situation where Sona, we didn't realize it was actually a hotfix at the time. It's not the hotfix version, so it's even stronger than we initially thought. And you can kind of see it here. It had a huge impact in the game in terms of living when the other supports might not.
Right.
Having the ultimate as well as just the power of the Q in lane, just having that aura up.
Yeah.
So obviously the Sona pick was extremely strong. And then the rest of the comp, I would say it's not the most standard comp where like Rumble wants to ult on top of people for team fights, but Grok to split them up. And then you also have Talia looking more for roaming.
Splitting fights, roaming. And
It's a little weird how the whole comp works, I think, but ultimately what's more important is how it fits with their playstyle as Immortals, where they want to just have a bunch of fights and they want things that are strong into the other enemy picks, and Rumble and Tanar is a good one, so it was a little bit maybe more lane focused.
Right, exactly. And yeah, just to clarify, Sona 614 is hotfixed on live. That hotfix is not in on the tournament realm, so she's sitting at full 614 power currently, which does make her very much a strong pick in the game. She probably still would be even with the hotfix, but diving into the actual game elements of it and how these champions played out, we did see once we've swapped back into standard lanes, Ashe Sona pressure on the lane was basically keeping that Karma Jhin locked under turret the entire game.
You see that like little blip of blue right there? That's like that first blood.
Right.
And then
Right
like
over
right when they swap back, it's pretty even. But then from there, the Sona just kind of constantly had NRG's bot lane pushed in, and Immortals made repeated attempts down there, even if they weren't explicit dives.
Right.
You saw the Gragas come down, it had to be matched by the Rek'Sai, and then eventually they just took the turret from the pressure. It wasn't off a dive, they just took it from basically laning.
Exactly.
And then later in the game, they're going to have a roam that's going to exploit the fact that turret's now down.
Exactly. 15:30 into the game, we get a 2-for-2 trade in the bot lane because the turret is no longer there. So here it is, Pobelter on that Taliyah, starting off the fight, is basically, you know, changing the geography of the map, saying now you can't get back to your second-tier turret.
Right, and it's kind of the thing with Pobelter where he seems to end up a little bit ahead of his team. Once again, here had to flash out, but it set up Turtle to start going off in this fight. And that's something that's kind of a theme of the game, was Turtle kind of fighting multiple people at once.
Right.
He's able to pick up 2 kills before ultimately going down to the minions. And then on the other side, you see the Sona and Taliyah now chasing down other members of NRG. It was a really scrappy fight overall, where just fights all over the map after the initial cutoff attempt had to be flashed out of. It wasn't quite like a clean, like, boom, we're on top of them, they're dead. It was extended.
And it wasn't necessarily the break point in the game, but it did just kind of show how, once again, because of the pressure that they're able to push into the bot lane in that 2v2 and actually take that turret, that play, that Pobelter play, is able to be made. It probably could have been executed cleaner. There are a few other ways that becomes not a 2-for-2, but a 2-for-0. Even still, the thought there behind the strategy in terms of we've chosen a strong bot lane with plenty of sustain that can really pressure a turret down. That's what we get out of it, is now the ability to make plays in that long lane. Moving ahead, though, 21 minutes into the game, this is more of the break open here. 4-for-0 for Immortals on this fight.
No, this is actually the really scrappy one. This is interesting where they try and pick the Sona, and this happened a couple times where you see that the Sona living at really low health. They go over the wall here, and then this is a mistake from Pobelter. He's pretty much in the perfect spot to just stay behind blue wall, slinging spells over. He tries to ult, and just right into the Malzahar, suppresses Taliyah. She goes down, and then Gnar was able to stall out on Immortals' backline for a long time, and basically able to make this fight closer than it probably should have been if Pobelter had stayed over the wall. So it's actually a fairly long chase down sequence that ends up being, I think, 3-for-3 or 4-for-4, because they kill up being 4-for-4. They kill the Jhin, but the Jhin trades back onto the Rumble. So it was a pretty scrappy fight that started with an engage. Right. Should have been turned back around, but a mistake from Pobelter makes it much more even.
Exactly. Once again, probably could have been a larger win for Immortals, but they do scrape by with the 4-for-4. Now I want to push us ahead to the replay I had intended to talk about. 4-for-0 for Immortals, around 28 minutes into the game. This one here in the top lane is also going to net them Baron on the back end.
It's just too many people flanking from the same side from NRG, where it allows Immortals kind of escape down to the right. This is once again I was talking about, somehow Adrian gets out, lives long enough, is able to keep providing these auras, hits a decent ultimate here to keep GBM on top of the Rumble ult, and then here Quas goes in to finish them off, but can't quite. Same with Santorin, they both get picked off, and then there's basically your front line dead, and they've been chasing on to the rest of the back line. It's a very like scattered fight once that initial engage failed.
I mean, scattered fights, though, it really is just the story of Immortals as a team, because that started out as 3 members being collapsed on by 5, but even still, somehow they and they're on the wrong side of the map, essentially.
Right, like
they managed to
your
come out
80
on top
carry
of it.
is running down the lane towards your own base. That's not really how you see most flanks happening. It's usually the 80 carry here, and the tank's coming. And it was just a very strange kind of flank situation.
Yeah, but true to Immortals' form, they scrap their way through that fight in a winning fashion, pick up the Baron on the back end of that, and they're able to close out the game. Adrian's going to pick up player of the game here on that Sona, 0, 1, and 11. As we mentioned, just the champion itself, too, playing a role in this, but being able to supply that much pressure in lane, keep people safe.
Right. I mean, you saw in the goal graph, it was pretty much even up until they swapped back and started having that huge pressure advantage in the duo lane. And then from there, they kind of snowballed off that, as well as a number of team fights where he a little clenched, like, oh God, am I going to die? And then just gets out in time and is able to keep providing the aura. So his ability to live in those fights stopped them from being kind of huge wins for NRG.
All right, well, NRG picking up this series in 2-0 fashion. We finished our first series, but there's more league action coming your way. Stay tuned. Apex tries to make some late season moves against Echo Fox when we come back.
Squat frogging again.
Just got the one we look at.
You have to sit on the chair.
Simon, can you do my shoulders? Oh yeah. I did shoulder this.
We're going to have to see if NRG can start playing actively in this game.
Hoodie died and then you went in and
I came in riding like,
and then I came in and then I died.
Restraint out the window! Oh no! They try to go back in on this one. Santorin waits just to the end of the ultimate.
Totally coming.
Oh, he's really low.
I'm just going for.
Wait, Nar's right here.
TP in 3.
Block.
Block.
TPing.
The Rumble Ultimate equalizes the fight for Immortals, and it may be the HP drop they need. That's actually Adrian going down first. Both summoners are gone from him. Santorin getting to the back line. Can he drop them? Oh, GBM actually seismic shoved in. Pobelter starts off the fight on Talia, and they're going to be going in hard on this one. And they are going to keep this very nice record alive. Immortals take down NRG.